This is Doc Ock coming at you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central this evening with another installment of Doc Ock at noon and 9. Well, I don't know how your day was, but mine was fairly busy. Just trying to get ready to do this particular presentation right now. So, yeah, it does take quite a bit of work. You'd be surprised. It seems like it should be so easy because I'm only on here for a few minutes, but for every minute that goes on the over the airwaves, that's about an hour of prep time. Serious business. Right. Doesn't seem like it could be that way, but it is. Meanwhile, tonight we're just going to do our proverb of the night. And let's see if I can find it real quick here. There we go. Proverb of the night. No need to be afraid of the dark. We come from darkness and shall return to darkness. There is nothing to fear but fear itself. So just be cool and take it easy. Just be cool and take it easy. And there we have it. Proverb for the night. Meanwhile, we want you to go ahead and keep on. Uh-oh. I got some kind of warning over here. I don't know what this is. What's it saying? Video resolution. Wow. Okay. All right. I'm going to have to work on that then. Huh. First time I've seen that warning. Okay. So, yeah, I'll have to fix that, but I'm not going to do it right this moment. I will do it later. Meanwhile, everything's everything. I think. Looks like we should still be good there. All right. So, story for the evening. The story for the evening is, again, from Jackie Tales. Stories from the mind of Jackie Torrance and the mouth of Doc Ock. And let's go ahead and get our slideshow running over here. Get this slideshow together. Get it together. Get it together. In any kind of weather. Da 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 da. How about right there? Boom. Now we're in there. Okay. Okay, slideshow ready to go. And action. There we are. Now, for all you young folks out there, do not do this. Do not try this at home, making a voodoo doll and sticking pins in it. Okay? Y'all might hurt somebody, and I don't want y'all to hurt nobody out there. So please do not try this at home. If you're watching on YouTube, you understand what I'm talking about. If you're looking on Facebook, then you're not seeing the voodoo doll. Yes. All right. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, let's do this little dance. Because it's about time for us to prance. Tonight's scary story is about the hairy man. Wiley was a little boy, and he lived with his mama on the edge of the swamp. Every single day of little Wiley's life, his mama would say, "Wiley, don't you ever, ever, ever go into that swamp by yourself." And Wiley would say, "All right, mama, I won't ever, ever, ever go into that swamp by myself." And he would say, "Why?" "Well, Wiley," she would say, "living way, way back inside that swamp is somebody known as the Hairy Man. Yeah, the Hairy Man. Wonder who she could be talking about. He chases little children, and when he catches them, he eats them up. Oh, Wiley said, well then, I ain't never going into that swamp by myself. And Wiley's mother would pat his head and said, you're a good boy, Wiley. And Wiley would say, I know. One morning, Wiley was in bed. Oh, it must have been about 10:30 a.m. at least. Believe it was Saturday, and Wiley didn't have to go to school. Or it could have been summer. He didn't have to go to school at all. Whatever it was, he was asleep. Wiley's mama said, Wiley, Wiley, get up, son. Wiley sat up in bed, rubbed his eyes, and stretched. I'm up, he said. She said, Wiley, get up and wash your face. Put on your clothes and come downstairs. There's something I want you to see. Wiley said, okay. She said, you're such a sweet boy, Wiley. And Wiley said, I know. So Wiley put on his clothes and washed his face and went down the steps. There on the kitchen table were 50 jars of wild strawberry jam. I mean, wild strawberry jam. They were all hot. Hot. His mama had just finished pouring them. Wiley said, I love me some strawberry jam, ma'am. I know you do, Wiley, she said, and I've made this special jar just for you. And Wiley said, I'm going to eat it too. Ha! So Wiley settled down and he ate every bit of his breakfast. He opened his jar of wild strawberry jam, took a spoon, and he ate all of that wild strawberry jam. Yes, he did. When he was done, he licked the spoon, and he licked the jar, and he ate the bread. Ha! And Wiley said, that was good. His mama said, I knew you would like that, son. Now, will you do your mama a favor? Wiley said, uh-huh. She said, take this big jar of wild strawberry jam over to Granny's house. Wiley said, okay. She said, now, Wiley, it doesn't take all day long to get to Granny's house, so you take that jar, but you come right back and clean up the backyard. Wiley said, uh-huh. She said, Wiley, you take a shortcut and come straight home. Take a shortcut through the swamp. Say what? And Wiley said, Wiley, what did you say? I said, Wiley, I'm your mama. What are you saying? And Wiley said to her, well, I'm your little boy. And I'm saying, Wiley, why are you saying that to me? Wiley said, well, mama, all my life you told me that the hairy man lives in the swamp and that he'd chase me and he'd catch me and he'd eat me up. Now you're sending me into the swamp. Do you want him to chase me and catch me and eat me up? Huh? Is that what's going on here? Huh? Yeah, what? Tell me something, mama, because this don't make no kind of sense. Son, she said, I told you that when you were a little boy. I didn't want you disappearing into that swamp. Now you are a big little boy. You can go in that swamp and come out that swamp. Nobody will bother you if you do exactly what I say. Yeah, right. Wiley said, Mama, you better tell me exactly what I should do because I am still afraid of the hairy man. She said, good. Come this way. She took Wiley over to the sink and showed him a shelf. There on the shelf was a glass of milk. She said, Wiley, do you see this glass of milk? And Wiley said, uh-huh. She said, Wiley, it's magic. She said, Wiley, it's magic. And Wiley said, huh? She said, Wiley, if you should go in the swamp and the hairy man should get to chasing you, this glass of milk will tell me. It will turn all red. I will know for sure that the hairy man is after you. Wiley said, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. But what you gonna do after that? Yeah, what you gonna do after the glass of milk turns red? What you gonna do then? She said, after that, I'm gonna go to the barn. I'm gonna untie your 3 hound dogs and send him into the swamp to protect you. The hairy man is scared of hound dogs. Mama, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. And she said, whatever do you mean, son? You don't have to send them dogs after me. He said, because you see, Mama, when I leave here, them dogs are going with me. Now, see, now that's what I'm talking about. That sounds like good sense. Wiley ain't no fool. Why would he wait till the hairy man catch him and then send the dogs? Take the dogs with him. Yeah, sounds like a plan. Mama, when I leave here, them dogs are leaving with me. Wiley, them dogs are playful. They'll chase all kinds of critters, birds, rabbits, snakes, and squirrels. They'll be off somewhere chasing some critter and won't even know the hairy man is chasing you. Leave him tied up. If the glass of milk turns red, I'll untie him and send him straight after you. So Wiley said, let's go find them dogs. They went outside and they found all 3 of Wiley's hound dogs and they tied each of them up on a piece of rope. Then Mama handed Wiley that great big jar of wild strawberry jam. Wiley said goodbye to his mama. He went out the back door, across the porch, down the steps, across the walk, across the road, and into the swamp. As Wiley walked along, he happened to look up in the trees, and hanging down was long green snakes, watching Wiley as he walked along. Further down in the swamp, where the limbs of the trees grew close to the ground, you could see gray, big old birds watching Wiley walk along. Further down in the swamp, you could hear a splish and a splash. And that was an old alligator crawling into the muddy waters of the swamp. But Wiley wasn't afraid of the alligators. Wiley wasn't afraid of those great big old birds. And he certainly wasn't afraid of them trees. He wasn't even afraid of them green snakes hanging out of the trees. What Wiley was afraid of was coming up behind him. All at once he heard, "Hello there, Wiley." And Wiley said, "Uh-oh." But all Wiley could do was say, "How do you do, Mr. Hairy Man?" There standing behind him was the hairy man. The hairy man said, "Hello there, Wiley. How you doing?" And Wiley said, "Not so good." "Well," Wiley said, "the hairy man, I'm glad to see you, boy. You know what? Every day I goes down to your backyard there and I looks over and I sees you playing ball. And I says to myself, I says, look at Wiley." Look at Wiley. Yep, that's what I says, all right. Maybe he'll come into the swamp, I says to myself, and play with me. And lo and behold, here you are. Wiley, here you are. I'm so glad to have you here with me today, Mr. Wiley. And Wiley said, well, thank you very much. Wiley, what is that you got in your hand, huh? What is that? What is that, Wiley? Wiley was so scared he was shaking so hard he could barely say, well, Mr. Harry, man, this here is a jar of wild strawberry jam that my mama made. That's what it is. I'm taking it to Granny's house. And the hairy man said, whoa, don't you know I love strawberry jam? I really, 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 really love wild strawberry jam. Not just strawberry jam, but that wild strawberry jam. I absolutely love it, especially when it's wild. Well, tell you what I'm going to do, Wiley. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to eat that jar of wild strawberry jam here. I'm going to eat it up. I'm going to eat it all. Ha! And when I get through eating that jar of wild strawberry jam, then I'm going to eat you too. And Wiley said, uh-oh. He took that jar of wild strawberry jam, set it down on the ground, and he broke out in a dead run. Now, Wiley had real short little legs, but they could go real fast. He was picking them up and putting them down, picking them up and putting them down. He was picking them up and hardly putting them down. They was hardly touching the ground. Oh, that little boy was running as fast as his little legs could carry him over the trees, under the trees, around the trees, through the trees, over the trees. He was running and running and running. And that hairy man, he was loping along behind him. Just loping along. You could hear that hairy man saying, whoosh, look at them little legs run. But it didn't do Wiley a bit of good. His little old legs, they just kept on running. But that old hairy man ran right up behind him, grabbed that little boy by his t-shirt, lifted him high up into the air, threw his hairy head back. And you know what he got ready to do then? He opened his mouth, and Wiley's little old legs, well, they were still running when they got up in the air. That old hairy man was opening his mouth, getting ready to drop that little boy down his throat. In the meantime, back at home, Wiley's mama had been out in the apple orchard. She had picked a bucket of apples and poured them in a sink of water, and she was washing them apples. She was going to make her little boy something really good because she knew he just loved him some apples. She wasn't sure what she was going to make him, but he was going to enjoy it, whatever it was. She picked up an apple and a knife, peeling that apple and thinking about what she was going to make for her little boy. I ought to make him an apple pie, she thought. Yeah, he'd like an apple pie with some brown sugar with a little butter in it. Oh yeah, Wiley loved that. As she was peeling that apple, she just happened to look up on the shelf behind the sink. The glass of milk had turned red. Mama knew the hairy man was chasing her boy. She threw that apple one way, threw that knife the other way, ran out that back door and down them steps across the yard and into the barn. Then she untied all three of Wiley's hound dogs and said to the hound dogs, go out into the swamp and rescue Wiley. The hairy man's done caught him, and the hound dogs, they looked at her and they looked at each other and they said, woof, 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 woof. Now, you know how hound dogs sound, right? And that's hound dog language for Wiley's in trouble. Let's go and get him. You never have heard the kind of noise that them hound dogs made going across that field, across the field and over into the swamp. They was barking and a howling and a howling and a barking and a carrying on. Just a howling and a barking and a barking and a howling. Sometimes they was even scowling. Back in the swamp, the hairy man was getting ready to gulp that little boy right on down his throat when he stopped. He heard something. He listened. He said, Wiley, Did you just hear something? Because I thought for sure I heard something, but I'm not sure what it was. He said, Wiley, did you hear something? And Wiley said, uh-huh. What did you hear? I heard my hound dogs. Wiley, do you know I'm scared of hound dogs? Uh-huh. Wiley said, I know you are. Wiley, which way are them hound dogs coming? They's coming this way, Wiley said. Wiley, if them hound dogs are coming this way, then I ought to go that way. Wiley said, go right ahead. The hairy man threw Wiley down on the ground and he started running. But the moment he lifted one foot to run, the hound dogs got him. Woof, 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 ho, 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 ho. They tore him limb from limb. Ha! Nothing left of the hairy man. As for Wiley, he went and grabbed that big jar of wild strawberry jam, took it to Granny's house, and come back right through the swamp. And he cleaned up the backyard. That night after supper, Wiley and his mama each had a wedge of that apple pie with a little bit of homemade ice cream on top. This is what I'm talking about. And now Wiley goes in and out of that swamp, and nobody, especially that hairy man, ever, do you hear me? Never bothers Wiley. And that's the end of that. So much for Wiley and the hairy man. Yep, so much for Wiley and the hairy man. And now you know the whole story, so you can go ahead and tell that story as part of your glory. Tell it to your friends, tell it to your family, tell it to your little brothers and your little sisters too, and scare the bejesus out of them. But in the meanwhile, I need all you little children out there to take your little heads and lay them on your little pillows, on your little bed, while you close those your eyes and wait on that sun to rise. And when you feel those sunbeams beaming down on your eyes, you'll know that it's time for you to rise and shine, oh children of mine. And as for you adults, we're going to ask one more time. This is our last time for the month. We're going to ask you to make a donation to Black Facts Educational Research Incorporated, a 501c3 that's not so much working for me as it is for you, because we aim to bring you a whole bunch of stories that won't make you blue, but will help give you a clue as to what you need to do. And that is look out for yourself, watch your back, look out for each other, as a matter of fact. Just like Wiley and his mama and that old hairy man. So you can make your donation at blackfacts.org, BLAKFACTS.org. You can make your donation on Facebook when you find my profile picture with the coins under the head, under my face. Go ahead and click on that. You can make your donation on YouTube. Right below our description, there's a link to our website that will take you straight to a donation page. So you got a number of choices where you can go to make your donation. Please do so. We need your support in every way, including this one. In the meanwhile, we'll be back tomorrow at noon, reading more from the book, The Fences Between. We call it a Black Homecoming. So look out for that tomorrow at noon. And of course, we'll be back tomorrow night with another scary story. In the meantime, don't be afraid of the dark.